Hey everybody, I have another scrap pile project. I'm going to be making a cast-on comb. Yeah, what's that? That's what I said. Actually, it's something that's used in the knitting world with knitting machines. It's essentially it's a bar with hooks on it that hook onto knitting as it comes off a knitting machine. So it keeps a constant pressure or tension on it. My friend was looking for one, and the designs, their machine is a little odd apparently, I don't know, but it has an 8mm spacing, and the ones that they could find online, it was like a 10 or 12 or 7. They couldn't find the 8. So we took a look online, and there's a couple of designs there based on using paper clips and rulers. Essentially you bend paper clips and you glue it in the middle between two rulers. That didn't look very nice, so we decided upon a design, and he sent me a picture, and so I've used this picture to come up with some materials. Now I've got 3 scrap pieces of spruce here. I did look at pine, but pine is a little light, and you want a little weight to it. Spruce is a little heavier. So I'm just going to rip these down, and hope you'll follow along to see how the cast-on comb takes shape. So the actual design we finally agreed upon is going to be four separate shorter combs instead of one big one. Each one would be 264mm long. And each one essentially would have 33 hooks with a spacing of 8mm in between. And on the ends of each comb there would be a 4mm in from the end. There would be the first hook, so that when you butt 2 combs together, that would give you the 8mm spacing. And to keep the 2 combs from twisting, I'm going to use probably some nails. I'm going to drill some holes and put some nails in the end of one board so that it can slide in so they won't twist. But a little later in the video I'll show you how that works. So now I'm just going to rip the boards to probably 1.25 inches height, and then sand them smooth, and then trim them to length. So I've got the 4 pieces cut. They're 26.4 centimeters long, and I struck the center line down each piece. I measured in from the edge 4mm. I don't know if you can see that point right there. Maybe it's a little too blurry. And then from there, what I'm using is my little calipers here. I've set it to 8mm, and what I'm doing is I'm essentially walking these 2 points down the line, very similar to this. See if I can show you one-handed. Well, I started at the 4mm, which is right there, poked a hole, and then I poked another hole like that. Then I jumped over with that, poked that in there, and another hole there. And I'm going to do that the entire length of that board, and the rest of them. Or maybe I just might, well, probably what I'll do is that once I get this board done, I'll use my square and just strike lines across to make it easier. And then what I'll do is I'll drill pilot holes in each one of those, and that's where the I guess teacup hooks will be screwed in. So yeah, let's get at poking some holes. So I've got all the lines struck across here, so the intersections I'm going to be drilling holes. So I'm just going to pop over to my drill press here now, where I have chucked up a 1/16 inch bit, and I'm going to drill the center of those X's to basically they're a pilot hole for the teacup hooks. So there's a bit of lining up here, and sometimes the bit does skate over the wood, so I have to be a little careful with the drill bit. Start slowly and drill down. I'm doing about, I think it's maybe 3/8 of an inch deep. That should be plenty of deep for the thread of the teacup hooks. So So I've got all the holes drilled, and now I need to figure a way how to connect them. Depending upon how wide the actual knitting project is, depends upon how big of a, or how wide of a cast-on comb you need. So what I've done is that I've, so you can see it there, I've struck the line. I followed down from the center here down to the center of the edge of the board, and I marked up, I think it's 3/8 of an inch and maybe an inch up from the top. So I'm going to drive in, actually I'm going to drill 2 pilot holes in there, and then I'm going to put in, I took some of these 1.25" finishing screws, finishing nails, and I cut the end off with my orange handle pliers down right there, and went over to my grinder, and then I ground a fine point on the end, so now they're pointy on each end. I'm going to use those as pins, so we'd be able to pull the 2 ends together. I'll show you what I mean. So now I'm just going to drill 2 holes in the top here so that it will take the 2 pins. So I have to keep it, make sure that it's straight, parallel and all that, and just give it a go. 1 hole. 2 holes. And I will take my pins, wherever I have them laid, right here. Here's 1. Where did they go? Well, I've got 1 here, so that'll go in there. And then when I find the other one, I'll poke it. Oh, I've got it. I'll poke that one in here like that. Now I'll just give them a little tap with a hammer just to make sure that they're flush. Okay, here's the piece with the 2 nails in it. Instead of me measuring where the holes are to be put on this piece, I'm going to take the actual locations off these 2 spikes right here. So what I've done is I got a couple of wooden bench dogs popped in there and a little piece of board. Oops, that one popped out. Straight piece of board put across there, and I'm using that as a fence for these 2 pieces of board. So I just push those up against there, make sure I got both the holes there on the outside, and I'll just push it together. And I'll just give it a little tap over on the end here with the hammer, just to okay, so we should have 2 holes, or 2 marks for 2 holes. Yes, we do, right there and right there. So I'll just pop my drill in there, and that should match up perfectly with those 2 nails in there. So I've got the 4 short cast-off combs done. Holes drilled, sanded, holes are drilled in the end for the pins, and now I'm just firing up my binding iron there to burn numbers into the end, so we know which end goes into which. This is where I end the project. I've got 4 short cast-on combs, and each hole is 8 millimeters to the center, except for the end ones, which are 4 millimeters in. That's because if it needs to be joined for a longer project, the 2 holes will be 8 millimeters apart. How that's done, how these boards are, I guess, attached, is that I've got holes drilled there, and I've got these short little metal rods, which are basically, I think they're 1.25" finishing nails, that I just ground the ends off and made them to like little metal rods. I've holes drilled there, and as you see, that's number 1. And I picked the appropriate other cast-on comb. That one has a 1, and I just line up the holes there and there, and just push it together. There you have it. There you have a longer one. And maybe if it needs some extra rigidity, one of these, like a larger binder clamp, could be used just to clamp over the bottom, just to give it a little bit more stiffness. And you know, when this needs to come apart, just pull it apart like that, and the pins just come out. You just wiggle them with your finger, pull them out, put them in storage, and then you can put this away and you have no worries of the metal rods hooking into anything. Next thing that needs to be done to make them true cast-on combs is to get some hooks, whether when you use something like this, like an actual teacup hook. Unfortunately, this base won't work because it's more than 8 millimeters across and it'll cover over more than one hole. Something like this would probably be more appropriate, a little slighter gauge middle, one in each hole so it can hook onto material. Or, if worst case scenario, maybe using larger paper clips and put down each hole and glue them in place. So there you have it. I hope you like this little project. This is another one of my scrap pile projects, and thanks for watching.